Hi, I'm Morgan Doremus with RT Book Reviews, and I'm joined today with author Robert Barclay. And you have a new book out, which is really interesting for me because the premise of If Wishes Were Horses, it's a little bit different than maybe some of the readers have seen before. Can you delve a little bit into the plot?
Well, I knew a little about equine therapy to begin with. There are some ranches in the United States. It's a growing phenomenon, and they bring troubled teenagers to the ranches. And the theory is, if they give them an animal to bond with, they'll help them to overcome their troubles. And I knew that psychotherapy was sometimes also a part of this. So I was interested in trying to weave a love story around that concept and throw a little tragedy in and a little sense of forgiveness.
You say love story, but you don't make it easy for your characters. Your two main characters, they have this I think they refer to it as the 500-pound gorilla in the room, because there was a tragedy that they were both involved in.
Correct.
And they never, your hero Wyatt, he has lost his wife and his son. And then you've got Gabby, your heroine, and she lost her husband in the car accident. Only what makes it a little more challenging is that it was actually her husband's fault. He was driving drunk.
That's correct. Wyatt loses his son and wife in an accident 5 years prior to a drunk driver. And then in a search for closure, he can't move on, he can't date, he's having a terrible time. In a search for closure, he decides to run one of these programs at the ranch one final time. And his wife, Krista, used to do this. She was a psychotherapist. So he's going to run one for free in her memory to try to get some closure and help some more kids and perhaps be able to move on with his life. And everything is going fine until Gabby, the widow of the man who killed his family, comes to him and begs him to admit her troubled son to the program. So that creates the big conflict in Wyatt's life. And as these three people who are, as I put it, both connected and separated by a common tragedy, learn to come closer and closer together. But they have their problems along the way.
They absolutely. It's kind of a race to the finish to see who's maybe the more tragic figure, because we have Wyatt, who has literally lost his entire world, and then you have Gabby trying to raise her son while knowing, she feels a certain amount of guilt because this was something that her husband did. And then she's also watching her teenage son not being able to get past the loss of his father. And so everyone, there's a lot of scars and there's a lot of baggage that these characters have.
And so does the father. He has his secret baggage that he hasn't explained to Wyatt yet, which comes a little later in the book. I think perhaps the most tragic figure in the book, though, is Trevor, the son, because he's so young, he's lost so much, and he does not want to be at this ranch. And he blames Wyatt's late wife for the accident. So he carries an awful lot of resentment into this. He doesn't want to be around horses, and we see his gradual progression as he comes to really enjoy being at the ranch and being around horses. So it was a fun book to write.
I was going to say, I think Trevor was my favorite character. I think the scene that I loved the most was he's sitting in his room and he's doing his homework, and he looks over and he sees kind of a pile of his, he's a teenage boy, so he, kind of dropped everything on the floor, and he looks over and he sees the belt that he got from his father. He has a red windbreaker that he wears as kind of almost, he says it reminds him of his anger. It's kind of like the armor he puts on.
Absolutely.
And then he has the cowboy boots. When he's at the Flying V, he's got these boots he wears.
Right.
And he says, and it's so clear, even to him in his young mind, these are the different sides to him that he's trying to merge together, or what sides of these do I let go and what is my future? And that to me was it was such a profound scene.
But at the same time, when he looks at the cowboy boots, pardon me, the program's also nearing its end. And he realizes that he's going to be torn away from all those things at the ranch that he's come to love. And the red windbreaker is straight out of Rebel Without a Cause, where James Dean wore the red windbreaker, and James Dean is Trevor's idol, so he wears the red. That's the rebel symbolism. The belt that was his father represents to me his attachment to his father, and he straps it around his books. And the boots are the symbol of the ranch. And when he sees them all together in a clump, it's kind of a seminal moment for him. And then when he, in that last scene, without giving too much away, when he has to leave the windbreaker and the belt behind, and Ram reminds him, "You forgot your belt and your windbreaker," and he turns around and says, "No, I didn't."
Yeah.
So we know,
the evolution has become
despite how
complete.
angry he is at Ram for everything that just happened,
Right.
he has turned his corner. And Wyatt and Gabby are about to turn theirs. Gabby thinks that realizes she's fallen in love with Wyatt, I think, before he fully understands his feelings for her. And then Wyatt has his seminal moment, and things come together.
I was going to say, you've mentioned Ram a few times. He's Wyatt's father, and he is very much the, he owns the ranch, and he's very much the boss to his sons, to the employees,
Right.
to just everyone. He's got his rules, and this is the way it is. But he's also battling Alzheimer's,
Yes.
and this is a huge deal for him because he is so sharp and so in charge, and he realizes there's a lot of control you have to give up when you get ill.
He's been so fiercely independent all his life. He's done things his way. And there's a line in the book that I wrote where Ram is sitting on the porch and he's thinking about his Alzheimer's, and he thinks to himself how strange it is to be inflicted with a disease that is most painful only when it's in remission. And that's how it is for those folks. Ram is the hub of the wheel around which the spokes of Gabby and Wyatt and Trevor and Aunt Lou and Big John revolve.